Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, we're back at Giga Texas. It's Wednesday, the 14th of December, 2022. And for once, no fog, and it was actually a good day to fly. And we get a chance to see quite a bit of the factory and the site in much better lighting and conditions today. We'll start off on the south end. As you can see here, the pipe installation continues down where they removed all that concrete lot. And interestingly, the steel corrugated pipe that they are installing is kind of going at that same angle as the diamond corners of the building, but it's a little bit farther north than where the edge of the concrete used to be. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing a road around this section right on the north part of the cyber pond all the way around, or not sure exactly what this is going to be, but it's interesting to see the developments that are going on at the south end. The next thing that I want to talk about is over here on the east side small parking lot. This is the one that they've been reconfiguring as that staging lot to replace the one on the south end. Today we see a lot more Model Ys getting what appears to be software updates with all the lights flashing, and the supercharger installation here, all 32 of them are coming along really quickly. And it looks like it's just the final wiring that's being done. Also, very close to this area, as you can see here, we look at the vehicle staging and transportation lot, and it's very busy today with quite a bit of Model Ys. So between what I saw on the south end, the east smaller parking lot, and this staging location, there are quite a few Model Ys here at Giga Texas. So despite what you may be hearing, a lot of activity with production, and it looks like it's continuing to ramp really well here. The last area I want to show you is up here at the very far north. Now this is in that field where we know that they're going to be building a north logistics lot and also a warehouse. And as you can see here, they're continuing to stockpile a lot of the materials up in this area. So it's great to see. I'm still monitoring to find out where these materials are going to be used, if it's in this north logistics lot or if it's going to be used somewhere else. But otherwise, I'm really glad to be able to fly today without all the fog and the low clouds, and the conditions were great. I hope you enjoy all the views and the information, and as always, thank you very much for your support and for viewing. I hope you have a great day.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Really great day to fly today, so we're able to see quite a bit more than we have in the last week or so with all of the fog. Starting on this side, you can see all of these trailers have been moved to this expanded staging lot. It's taking the place of that expansion on the north end of the warehouse on wheels on that east side, and they're going to be using this so that they can have more of the trailers, and these trailers bring in parts that are necessary for production. As I turn the drone towards the southwest, you can see the progress going on here with the clearing of the land, the removal of the hills, and filling of all the ponds. And this very large triangular section is really improving the grade at a very rapid rate. Now, where the vehicles are working right now, the depression is still pretty substantial. There's going to be a lot of fill dirt that needs to be brought in to raise this grade to completely level. It's probably about maybe 10 meters or about 30 feet of more fill dirt that's going to be needed to be able to level out all of the various valleys in this area. But it has really come along a very long way. As we continue to turn the drone towards the south and then back over to the east, you get a really good idea of where this is located in relation to the main building. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the power station and also where the sewage treatment plant is located. And then as we approach back towards the staging location, just a really nice view of the sky and the lit up building. With on the very top, you can see the cathode building just on top of the main structure. But this is a good view of all of the trailers that have been moved over here. And in the last several weeks, we've watched this particular section of this material staging get cleared out, widened, and then had all this gravel mix put on. And then they marked the locations for all the trailers. As we come a little bit closer, you can see the remaining materials that are stored here, and they continue to be cleared out from the north end and then relocated to other sites around Giga Texas. So I think eventually we'll see this entire thing cleared out and then more trailers. And then also eventually this will be the new car staging and transportation lot. You can see where they're going to be widening this a little bit more with all the dirt on this side at the bottom of the screen. But we'll fly over what's remaining of the storage. You can see all of the materials, some of the trailers, some of the equipment, and even some workshops that are still located over in this section. So we're going to proceed back towards the main entrance, cross over the road, and we'll take a look at what is going on over there today. With the exterior lighting and all the lights on the inside, this is a really good view inside this part of the factory. You can see all the stored equipment and materials on the third floor. And this is a really good view inside the reconfigured main entrance. You can see how they've cut away some of that sort of the second floor. Now it's a mezzanine, and they're doing some other work on the slab as well. We can also see that most, if not all, of the concrete around where the stairs used to be is now completely removed, and the cutouts on either side now mirror each other. So now that they've got all the concrete removed, we should start seeing some more of the reconfiguration work, and then maybe we'll get an idea of what this is going to look like when it's finished. As we approach here, you can see more materials being delivered today at the newly constructed General Assembly lines 2 and 3 inside the ground floor of this section of the building. And then also more Model Y stored here and in this overflow lot directly ahead of the drone. We can also see quite a bit of activity with trenching starting first at the bottom of the screen. This is where they are now installing more of this blue water pipe, and they've been excavating this asphalt section to do this. Now they've been putting a lot of water pipe in at the south end of where they are doing all of the earthwork right now, but it looks like another new section of water pipe being added on this part of the overflow lot. We can also see quite a bit of activity here in the clearing. Now what I want to show you is on the bottom of the screen, and as we turn around, you'll see 4 of the manhole covers, the kind of circular covers in the asphalt. Right beneath that is the splitter box. It's a concrete manifold system where a lot of these very large pipes, specifically the corrugated steel pipes, enter and exit, and it's for the management of water flow in and out. And you can see actually the corner of that splitter box right in the middle of the screen. Now what we're seeing is not only the trenching around here to add more of the steel pipes, but you can see here where this large steel pipe has been buried mostly, and it's going to connect into that 45-degree bend. And then you can see the trench box here amongst all of the orange fences where the end of the pipe is currently. So it looks like they are expanding the underground corrugated pipe and connections to that splitter box. I'm not sure if this is to add capacity or to correct a water management issue that they've discovered. We can also see here with all of this equipment and this trench that's going along the width of the building, this is where the concrete pipe segments have been installed and continue to be installed. We can see actually a little bit of the work going on here inside this blue trench box where the worker is located. This also gives you a really good idea of the scale of the size of these trenches. You can see that steel platform was removed on the openings into the General Assembly for some reason. Here's a good shot of the concrete pipes. And what I'm really trying to do is get down low to give you a good view inside of Stamping 2, where a lot of work is going on with isolation foundations, some of the slab, some other construction, and then on this door, I'll try to get a really good view and zoom in. You can see parts of the AIDA stamping press have been installed on top of that isolation foundation, which is like a very large open foundation that's subterranean, and it's being filled in with some of the dirt on here on the south end. But you can see some of that red material, the components and the equipment that's being installed to make this gigantic, eventually, press operational. And this is to stamp out or to fold metal parts, unlike the Idra Giga presses, which use molten aluminum to make the Giga presses. So both parts, the Idra press in the north end and the AIDA presses on the south end, are necessary for construction of the Cybertruck. Here is the south material staging location. You can just see all the various steel parts that remain here waiting for installation. Also, you can see quite a bit of the solar panels now have been moved up onto the roof, and there's just a little bit left over by that blue crane. As we continue over towards the east, where all of these power lines are at the base of this tower, you can see the underground conduit work is really progressing. All of the trenching appears to be done, and the crews are putting the wires into the underground conduit and those open manifolds. Good view of all of the materials on the east side, and also as we continue to pirouette the drone back, you can get an idea of how this entire section, where all of the concrete now has been removed, there's just a few segments remaining. I'm going to climb up and pull back to give you a good overall view of the south end. One of the things I want to talk about is on the left hand side, you can see where that trench is for that pipe, and it's at the same angle as the diamond corners of the building, but it's been moved a little bit further to the north than where the road used to be. So it's going to be interesting to see what does this mean, and are we going to see a structure with a road between the structure and the cyber pond, or are we going to see something else? So something I'll continue to monitor. As we come over to the southeast corner, just give you a good idea of how this entire section looks. We look back down on the ground where you can see the conduit and the concrete vaults being installed. We're flying over where the horizontal drilling operation used to be and is now completed. And we can see quite a bit of the blue-topped crates and blue-wrapped equipment that's part of the AIDA stamping press. Now the three blue ones have been, on the left-hand side of the screen, have been recently delivered. And this is a good view. Take a look at that bus and compare the bus to the size of those blue-wrapped equipments, just so you can get a really good sense of scale. Those things are enormous. The green and white are also parts of the AIDA stamping press as well. As we approach this smaller parking lot that was reconfigured to replace the concrete lot that was on the south side, we can see some of the Model Ys have the lights flashing as they get updates for their software. On the bottom of the screen, you can also see crews preparing that test road with the rumble strips and some of the other bumps that are used for driving the vehicles over to test the post-construction and pre-delivery and some other activities that the crews do once the vehicles are completed. And they'll be using this particular parking lot to make sure the vehicles are ready to move over to the new car staging and transportation lot. We can also see progress with the 32 superchargers that are being constructed. Looks like all of them have been installed, and most of the electronic cabinets are installed, and now they're working on the electrical connections. And as I give you a good view in closer, you can get an idea of how this looks. And for those of you that are experts on superchargers, you can tell me if these are V3s or if you believe that these might be V4s. I don't know, but it would be very interesting to find out. But as we continue up to the north along the east side of the building, first thing I want to show you is this work that's going on at this intersection and how they are doing the diamond cuts around the parking lot. I'm not sure exactly if they're going to be putting in maybe a traffic circle or a different kind of intersection. Very interesting. You also see some work here by these superchargers and where the main entrance is for all the workers. Also a good view of the amount of castings that have been created in the last 24 to 48 hours, and it's just amazing to see how many of these they make per day to sustain the production rate. And I've been asked what the production rate is here. I really don't know. It's very hard to tell, but I would say that we're on the order of 3,000 per week for sure by now. And you can see the new car staging and transportation lot is also very full, very busy, and just about as fast as the cars are arriving here, trucks are picking them up and then moving them to several locations around the area. But between what we saw on the south end, that small parking lot, and here, quite a bit of Model Ys. We're probably talking at least 500 Model Ys on the site at the moment, and then more being produced and then transported off site. As we come up next to this warehouse on wheels, one of the things I want to show you is these items. I think these are more superchargers. Again, if you're an expert on superchargers, I'd be curious to find out what you think all of these are and what this may indicate. Please let me know in the comment section of the video. I would very much appreciate it. But as we zoom back out and bring the drone back up, one of the things that I had mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video is on the west side they're configuring it to have warehouse on wheel trailers over there as well. And that's because, as you can see, this shorter section of the warehouse on wheels that remains, they put the vehicle parking on the north end, it's just overflowing and they need more space, and they are moving all of the rest of the trailers over to that west side. You can also see those stainless steel tanks on the left hand side of the screen that used to be on the west side moved over here recently. And also, I'll just stop the drone here so you can get an idea of how this southeast side of the storage, trailers, workshops, and vehicle equipment storage appears. This is also a good view at the center bottom of the screen. You can see all of those concrete sections that were cut out from the south end of the building. There's about 4 or 5 of these places where they've stored the concrete, and in some cases they're actually using it as sort of flooring or mud prevention in some of the areas where they're making new storage lots. Here's another one of those sections that has all of the concrete slab sections stored here, and also a good view of where all of the trailers are for the contractor offices that are working to build Giga Texas. And this is a different perspective on the warehouse on wheels. The workshop on the left where they do modifications of some of the steel components and also paint, and then those are used inside for additional construction. The bottom center of the screen going off to the left is another place where they're storing some of those concrete slabs. And then as I turn the drone towards the north, and we'll go over these particular trailers and some of the materials, and you'll see next to that white truck is another section where they put some of those concrete slabs. And that is also where they are making some of the rebar cages that are used for the footings up at this section. Here we're at the west side of the battery cathode plant where they're preparing the foundations and the footings for a new structure. I'll give you some views of that in just a second, but I also want to give you some good views of the iron pipe manifolds that are continuing to be constructed here by all the workers. You can see there's also a lot of work in and under this steel structure. You can see another section where they're preparing, it looks like, forms for more concrete. There's also some pipes sticking out of the ground in that particular area as well. So hopefully soon we'll get an idea to see what this is going to look like and how all of these pipes are going to be installed. I'm going to turn the drone back toward the west to give you some really good views of all of the footings and additional foundation work that is going on here for this new 107,000 square foot single story building. Now some people ask what this is for or will be for. It's hard to tell, but there's going to be quite a bit of water access, maybe tanks that are going to be in this particular part of the building. The permit was not completely specific on what it would be, but it did talk about having an extensive amount of water pipes, drainage pipes, and underground capability as well. So I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see as it continues to be developed. You can see the footings. Now we have 2 complete rows on that east side. And on the south end, you can see where geopier work is continuing. Some of the equipment is sort of staged here as well. And geopiers, again, are piers that are drilled into the ground, filled with gravel, compacted to make the actual piers themselves, and then go down about 15 to 20 meters. Here by all these power poles, you can see work to complete this reclamation area where there used to be a pond, and it's getting quite flat. We may see the geopier work extending further to the south there, but that'll be something I watch as construction continues. I'm going to get you a little bit closer here where these piers are being constructed. These are a little different than the geopiers. These have deep bores about 20 to 30 meters deep. They have rebar cages and concrete poured inside of them, and you can see just how dense this particular set of piers are. I do still think that there's going to be something very heavy that is mounted or installed on this part of this structure. I'm going to continue to move the drone around looking back towards the east, and we'll work our way up to the north where you'll see more work going on with this particular trench. It looks like there's some I don't know, I think they may be mud bases in those rectangular forms at the bottom of the trench, and then eventually we'll see some forms in rebar. But it's obviously something very deep and needs extra support that they are building right now. Another interesting thing that you can see at the middle of the screen, in the middle of that trench, you can see one of those concrete piers sticking up out of the ground. And you can also see what looks like possibly either more piers, those round tubular items at the edge of the excavation, or they might be some of the geopiers as well, one of the two. But that gives you a pretty good idea of how the pier work and supporting of the ground takes place. I'm going to fly up farther to the north to show you some of the developments that are going on, particularly at this large field. Now, I've covered this in depth on several different videos, but this particular field is where they've been doing soil testing, and it's also permitted as the North Logistics Lot and will be where a warehouse is located. And I covered a little bit about that in the intro as well. Now you can see what they're doing here is using some of those concrete sections that were cut and removed from the south end to make an area to put all the materials. And they're having quite a bit of these materials delivered. 3 trucks right now delivering more of the components as well. And you can see how they're being laid out here. At the top of the screen you can also see that equipment rental lot and that rounded top sprung structure, kind of a Quonset hut where they have the warehouse, the workshop to do the maintenance. This is interesting. You can see what's written on this blue package. There's quite a bit of the blue packages, some of the white, some of the green. And as you can see, this is a growing and a pretty extensive staging location for all of this particular equipment. What this will be and where it's going to be used, I can't say at this point in time. It may be related to work going on near the battery cathode plant. It may be work that will be starting up in this particular field for that North Logistics lot, but it's really hard to tell. But I like this particular view because it gives you a really good perspective of where this is located in relation to the main building and how far north of the battery cathode plant it is as well. The land going underneath the bottom of the drone is the remnants of the sand and gravel mine, and that's how most of this area looked like before the construction of the factory began. And here's a closer view of this equipment rental lot and that maintenance tent on the left-hand side. You also see more of the concrete sections stored here. that came from the south end. So let's proceed back to the battery cathode plant and take a look at the activity on the east side. So as you can see, just east to that small steel structure, you can see more of the earthwork going on to fill in at least the northern part of that water detention pond, reclaiming some of this land. You can also see the steel structure still has about 3/4 of the roof installed, some of the insulation between the two layers on the roof between the beams. And also, as I continue a little bit further on this direction, you can see that window. At least it looks like it's a window on that south end. This also gives you a good view of some of the activity going on in the east side here, material staging location, some of the equipment that's over here as well, some of that, that green-topped workshop that's between those two containers, and looks inside where they have those deep foundations. Also note that this tent is being dismantled. It has been moved at least 3 different times, and now it looks like it's being taken down for another time. And we'll see where that ends up going. But I'm going to pull back and raise up a little bit more just to give you a good overall view of the east side of the battery cathode plant and its activities and how it appears today. Flying over the Martin Marietta concrete batch plant, we can see the progress at the electrical switch yard and good views from the east looking west. You can see that drainage trench. You can see the riprap, which is kind of broken up rock that's put there to prevent some of the erosion. And also we can get an idea of how this site continues to transform. On the middle bottom of the screen, you can see the crews have made a lot of progress with that cable tray trench, and that's that gray trench that extends from that control room and now has a 90-degree angle and is proceeding over towards where 2 of the circuit breaker banks are located. Also see some of the work that's going on with some of the steel assembly as well. But as I get a little bit closer, this is a really good view of that cable tray trench. You can also see a little bit of the manhole cover on the bottom of the screen that will help drain into that water detention pond. You can see more equipment is being installed on the main site. 4 of these posts with looks like maybe lights also around the structure here. And we can also see more of the wires that'll be lined. Concrete's being poured into the south part of that cable trench, and it looks like there's crews busy at the top of these A-frames, and it looks like they're preparing possibly for some of the high-tension wires to be installed at some point, or maybe they're working on some of the lightning resting system. I'm not really sure. If you know, let me know what you think is going on at the top of those A-frame towers. But let's go ahead and get ready to go back to the main building and take a look at the activity on the north end. So here we're arriving at the northeast corner of the casting machine structure. In my previous video, we saw red gantry cranes being delivered here, which I believe will be useful for moving some of the Idra Gigapress parts once they arrive. I don't see it set up out here next to the building, so it may be on the inside. I did not get here early enough to be able to look through the windows. It's just too bright, so I can't really tell for sure, but it'll be something that I continue to monitor. But hopefully that means we'll see some deliveries soon. So as we continue to work our way back towards the north end of the building, you can just get a good sense of the amount of materials that has been delivered and continues to be moved inside the building. Quite a bit of duct work with the red wrapping on the left-hand side, and also some more different kinds of ducts, and it looks like some blue tanks on this particular location. As we continue farther to the west, we can see the activity on these two platforms that service the 4680 battery production portion of the building. And then also we can continue a little bit further to the west, and we'll see that there's a crane that's busy loading up some materials to this portion of the building. And we also see quite a bit of workers. So maybe we'll see resumed activity to complete these cooling enclosures and also some of the HVAC ducting. But let's continue to fly the drone around and get in a different angle and a little bit closer to see what the workers may be doing today. Obviously, they're looking at some of the deliveries. I think some of these may actually be solar panels that have just recently been delivered. And it may make sense because you can see the workers in the middle of the screen. It's another section that is being prepared for solar panel installation to finish up the northern part of the T of Tesla. But otherwise, let's pull away and get up a little bit higher and take a look at how the entire structure of Giga Texas and some of the surrounding area looks on this Wednesday, the 14th of November. A good view of the city of Austin in the background here. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you appreciate the information and all of the views around Giga Texas and a lot of the property that is now seeing some significant amount of construction all over the place. As always, I do very much appreciate your support and for viewing my videos. And I just want to say thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.